Nice to see everyone. So yes, I thought we would do this very, well, I say very adapted version of moon salute. And I don't know if anyone said, at the weekend there was a wonderful crescent moon, and I think it's getting bigger at the moment, but we're not on a full moon or anything like that. So you're going to start, and you don't have to face the long edge of your mat. We're just going to do sort of a few simple warm-up things to begin with. So if you come onto your mat, set towards the center of your mat somewhere, and bring your hands into prayer pose. It's been terribly dark, my end. Hopefully it will brighten up in a minute. So hands in prayer pose, and just take a moment to arrive in standing. You could close your eyes. You could feel the contact of your footprints on the floor. You could feel the contact of your hands. And you could also make a connection with your breathing. So just start by sort of focusing inward, sensing the movement of our breath within us. And we'll keep coming back to the breath. So if you've just joined, we're starting standing on the mat, ideally facing the long edge, as we're going to do some moon salute things. And so what I'd like you to do from here is let a breath come in. And as you exhale, so open your eyes now, as you exhale, taking your arms down and then up, and drop your shoulders away from your ears. And then we're going to come down into a forward bend, but you might want to go quite easy. So we're going to roll down, and you might want to start by bending your knees, resting your elbows on your thighs, letting your head go, checking in with your lower back. And if that all feels fine and you then want to release your arms to the floor, you can do. But I would probably keep my knees quite bent at this point. And if you're better off with your elbows on your thighs, then stay there. And just maybe have another couple of cycles of breath in this forward bend, seeing how it feels, letting your head go. And then as you exhale, you're going to sink into your heels and you're going to roll back up into standing. Back up in standing. And then come to this one where we're doing a sort of loose, easy swinging twist. So swinging your arms from side to side, that's it. Let your arms slap onto the sides of your body. And just keeping it really, that's it, really easy. Hi Mel, by the way, is that Mel? Hello, yes, nice to see you. We're doing sort of
Sorry, just sorting myself out, just ignore me.
That's fine, my lovely. It's nice to see you. That's it. So a few more times, swinging your arms from side to side. Okay. And then let that go. Settle your feet down again. Bring your hands back into prayer pose again. And again, let a breath come in. And as the out breath leaves you, take your arms down and then up. And then here, you're going to then reach up into one arm and then the other. So one of the things about sort of a moon salute type movements is we do quite a lot of side bending and twisting movements, as well as standing balances. So reaching up through one arm, reaching up through the other. You can shift your weight onto one leg and foot, so that if you shift your weight onto the reaching side, and then just release your arms for a moment, and we'll repeat that. Yeah, release your arms, give them a little swing out. We'll repeat that, and we'll also catch one hand around the other wrist this time. So if you bring your hands back into prayer pose, let a breath come in, and as the breath leaves you, take your arms down and then up. So this time, reach up into one arm. I'm reaching into my right arm, and then I'm catching my left hand around my right wrist and drawing myself up and over to the left, shifting my weight over into my right leg. And then come back to the center, reach up into your left arm, catch your right hand around your left wrist. Good. And reach up and over to the right, long down through the left side of your body. And then when you come back to the center, you're going to then roll again all the way down into a forward bend. Pausing if you like, with your elbows resting on your thighs and your knees bent. Or again, it depends how your back feels. If your back feels fine, release your arms all the way to the floor. And whatever version of the forward bend you're doing, really let your head go. So we can let the back of the neck release. And Bryony, I always think of you because maybe your neck is perfect these days, but yeah, if it's your neck's feeling tight, just let the head be heavy. So the weight of the head helps ease out the back of the neck. Let a breath come in, and as you exhale, roll back up into standing, or walk your hands up the front of your thighs if your back needs a bit of extra support. And then when you come back up into standing, take your feet a bit wider apart on the mat. So it could be, if you're facing the short edge of your mat, it could be the width of the narrow edge of your mat. And we're going to come into these side bending movements where we take one arm up and the other arm's heavy and floppy. So we take one arm up, the other arm's heavy and floppy. We shift our pelvis towards the raised arm side. And we'll go from side to side maybe 3 times. And really give away the bottom arm. So you can sort of shake out the bottom arm, let it be heavy and floppy. Good, go on to the other side. It might be when you come to the 3rd side that you stay maybe for a breath or 2, so slightly longer. Depends. I find these ones quite hard to breathe in and stay in. And then, yes, when you've done this 3 times to each side, or as much as you like, you're then going to fold forwards with your feet in this wider position. And again, it might be that you'd like to bring your elbows to your thighs to start with. And let your head go. So just see how it feels in that wider position to come forwards again. Good. Very nice. Lovely. Excellent. Good. Have another breath or 2 there. And then when you're ready, sink into your heels. Roll back up into standing. And bring your feet sort of back to being a little distance apart, and then return to swinging your arms in the sort of loose, easy swinging twist. So what we're going to do in a moment is we're going to come down onto hands and knees and do a few hands and knees things, and then return to the sort of, I say very loosely defined moon salute, because there's one of the things that moon salute doesn't have is dog pose and hands and knees things. And I sort of thought maybe we need to do a few of those things to get ourselves moving. So come towards the back of your mat and bring your hands together in prayer pose. So we'll move a bit like at the beginning of sun salute by taking the arms up. We're going to go into a forward bend, dog pose, and then down onto hands and knees. So if you touch your hands together in prayer pose, let a breath come in. As you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Drop your shoulders away from your ears, feel long and tall. And then as you exhale, curling your arms in, rounding your body forwards into a forward bend. Then you can have a couple of breaths in your forward bend. Let the head go. Feel the weight rooting down through your heels. From your forward bend with big handprints, you're going to walk forwards into dog pose. So just however far you think, however far you want to walk, see how that feels. It might be that your heels come up, that's fine. Good. And it might be once you're in that dog, you would like to bend one knee, bend the other knee. And have a few breaths in dog pose. We're not going to stay particularly long in this dog. And sometimes, as we all know, the first dog pose of the day doesn't always feel amazing. So we're going to come down onto hands and knees. And you're going to settle yourself on hands and knees with your shoulders over your wrists and your knees over your hips. And you're going to come to some cat movements to start with. So we're just exploring that movement of rounding and dipping in the middle of ourselves. So dipping our spine to the floor, rounding our back to the ceiling, and seeing how we feel again around the lower back,
How mobile does our spine feel today? And trying to avoid being too judgmental if we are feeling a bit stiff and creaky. And using these movements to perhaps bring a bit more freedom and fluidity into the center of ourselves. You could add in a little bit of tail wagging. So we can, as we often do, just imagine we have a tail and wag our tail from side to side. You could also do the one where we swing our lower legs, so the little fishes one. You can go slowly or more quickly. So you swing your lower legs from side to side. So your knees don't move. But if you're not going too quickly with your legs, you can look towards your feet, down the side of your body. If you're going quickly, I mean, I wouldn't look at my feet because I'd start to feel a bit dizzy and sick. And if you want to swing your legs quickly, you could do that, but without looking at them. Let's come back to a couple of cat movements. And then we're going to take our rounded cat into child pose. So we take the weight off the hands and the wrists for a moment. So whenever you've done a couple more cycles of cat, round your back to the ceiling and then rock your hips back over your heels into child pose, or you could come into kneeling if that's better for you. I know a couple of you prefer that. Just a chance to let your hands and your wrists have a little bit of a rest, because we're going to come back onto hands and knees in a moment. So in child pose or kneeling, just reconnect with your breathing if your awareness has sort of moved away from your breath. Come back and feel the movement of your breath within you somewhere. And then from child pose or from kneeling, so if you're in kneeling, you might want to come into child just momentarily, because from child pose, what I'd like you to do is slide your hands forwards on the floor, so your elbows come off the floor. So then you can come onto this long hands and knees position. So you could come up then. So we're in a hands and knees position where the hands are further forwards than the shoulders. And what I'd like you to do is rock back towards child and forwards towards a sort of very, easy, tentative face-up dog. So you're not necessarily going all the way unless it feels amazingly easy. Just a sort of little bit of rocking forwards and back. How does it feel to take the pelvis back? How does it feel to take the pelvis forwards? How does our lower back feel as we take our pelvis forwards? We're going to do another way. So if your lower back's feeling a little bit sort of tight or unhappy, we're going to sort of do a different way into this in a moment. So maybe the next time you rock back into child pose, just stay there for a breath or two. Take the weight off your hands again, or come into kneeling. Give your lower back a chance to lengthen out. And then we're going to use our tail wagging movement to move back into child and forwards into face-up dog. So again, if you're in child, lengthen your arms forwards, so your elbows come off the floor. So you come into this long hands and knees position. Yeah, so you've got the hands further forwards than the shoulders. And then you're going to do that quite nice movement where you swing your pelvis from side to side as you move it forwards and back. So we're trying to find that sort of side to side, tail wagging, swinging movement of the pelvis to take us back into child pose and forwards into face-up dog. And it might be, I'm going to come have a look at you in a moment, it might be that this makes it, yes, you might find that this makes it a little bit easier to come into a comfortable face-up dog. If it doesn't, then just don't go too far. Or if you're feeling really desperate, you need to do your cat way into face-up dog, you can. So if your back really needs to lengthen out, tuck your toes under, round your back to the ceiling, rock your hips back over your heels, let a breath come in, and then travel forwards with your back rounded to the ceiling. So we really lengthen out our lower back before we come into face-up dog. And then again, you might, if you want to do one more face up dog, you can. Otherwise, fold back into child pose or kneeling for a couple of breaths before we come up into standing. So child pose or kneeling. Again, taking the weight off your hands. I'm just going to turn my heating off. So when you're ready, we're going to move through dog pose and a forward bend and roll back up into standing. So come and settle on hands and knees. You're going to tuck your toes under. As you exhale, keep leaning through your arms, resting through the big hands, picking your knees up off the floor into your dog pose. Have a few breaths in this dog. Letting your head go. Bending one knee, bending both knees. Seeing how dog feels now. And if dog feels enjoyable, then stay there and enjoy it. Dog looks beautiful. But then whenever you're ready to come out of dog, start to walk your hands in towards your feet. Come into a forward bend. That's it. And then from your forward bend, you can roll up into standing, touching the backs of your hands together. There's no rush. You can have a couple of breaths in your forward bend. If you touch the backs of your hands together and then trail your hands up the front of your body all the way up to the ceiling. And again, feel long and tall, and then your arms can come out in a big circle all the way back to prayer pose in front of you. So we're going to come back to, if your arrangement in your room suits, you're going to come back to facing the long edge of your mat, and we're going to be thinking about these moon salute movements. So come back to facing the long edge of your mat, if that works for you, in being the centre, and bring your hands into prayer pose again in front of you. And we're going to try something out. So don't push this the first time, because we'll come back into it. So from here, you're going to let a breath come in. As you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Touch your hands over your head in prayer pose, and then bring your hands down onto the base of your neck. And then leave one hand there. Take the other arm out in a big circle. So go out to the side and down and up your back. And we're coming, I'm just turning back and I'll turn. We're coming towards our, what do we call it? Our cow arms, this delightful one. And yeah, don't force it. And notice how it feels. So I was doing this the other day and I thought, oh, crikey, this feels quite stiff. So release, just remember which arm was on top. Release your arms, give them a little shake out. We'll do the other side, and then we'll do a few other things and come back to them. And if it all feels very easy, then it's your lucky day. So hands in prayer pose. Let a breath come in. As you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Touch your hands over your head in prayer pose, and then hands down onto the base of your neck. And I open my hands out so my palms are either side of the base of my neck. And then now leave the arm that wasn't there last time up there. Take your other arm out in a big circle. You turn your palm back. You bring your hand up behind you, the back of your hand facing the back of your body, the palm facing away, and see how it feels. And like me, you might have done your more difficult side the second, which is good. So just a breath or two here. It doesn't matter whether you can touch your fingers or not. And then release your arms and come to a little bit of circling your shoulders. So circling your shoulders up and back, so sort of both shoulders together. You can, that's it, circle your shoulders up and back. And then you can circle your shoulders up and forwards. Just make sure if you're doing this that you're not bringing more tension into your shoulders. And then we're going to do a bigger movement where we're circling one arm. And like this, and you're letting your pelvis move. So you're circling one arm, you're drawing a big circle with your arm, and you can go in both directions.
And you're letting your pelvis move. So you don't feel that you're just wrenching into your shoulder, because that could be quite unpleasant. Good. So, you know, a few circles in each direction, change direction, and then we'll change arms. So you can come onto the second side. We'll do this big circle with the arm, one way a few times, the other way a few times. Swap back. You know, if one arm is restricted or painful, just do a smaller circle. Yeah, it could be quite a little circle, and that's fine. Okay. And give your arms and legs a shake out, and we'll try those lovely cow arms again. And see if they feel any freer. So bring your hands back into prayer pose in front of you. Hands in prayer pose, let a breath come in. As you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Drop your shoulders away from your ears, touch your palms together, and then bring your hands onto the base of your neck. So if you can remember which arm you did first time, do it again here. So the other arm comes out to the side. You turn your palm away from your body, so the palm's facing outwards. That's it, just see where the fingers go to, without forcing or straining. Have a couple of breaths there. And then again, release your arms, a little bit of a swing, a little bit of a shake out, and then we'll try side two again. So back into prayer pose in front of you. Let the breath come in as you exhale, arms down and then up, touching the hands over your head in prayer pose, and then hands down onto the base of your neck. So whichever arm didn't stay put last time is going to stay put this time. The other arm's going to come out in a big circle, and then the back of your hand, that's it, comes up the back of your body. Might only be on the back of your pelvis, it's fine. So particularly when the bottom arm, this arm, is your dominant hand, it's going to be more challenging. Yeah. See where it goes to. And then give your arms a shake out. Good. Give your feet a shake out. So we're coming now to that sort of, I say, fun bit of moon salute, where we turn in both directions on our mat. So I don't mind which way you go. You're going to turn so your feet are pointing towards one end of your mat. And you've got, if I show you, you've got your hip width distance, you've got this sort of walking pace. And so it might be good just to do a little bit of shifting your weight forwards and back. Good. So I've got, just to sort of help you remember, so in a way, so the foot that's furthest away from my laptop is the one that's forwards. As long as you just remember, we do both sides. And then from here, settle down. So you're trying to feel steady. If you've got no sideways distance and you feel like you're on a tightrope, take your foot a bit more out to the side. Because what I'd like you to do here is try to feel steady from the waist down. And you're then going to swing your arms a little bit to the right and to the left. But sort of unlike when we swing our arms and we let our pelvis move, I'd like you to try not to move too much below the waist. So if you start to feel your feet moving around on the floor, then that's definitely a sign that you are moving below the waist. And then try and make it a little bit more focused now with your hands on your body. So you could bring your hands onto your sides of your pelvis. So the pelvis isn't going to move. And then if you bring your hands onto your ribs, your low ribs, you could just turn to the right and to the left. So feel your ribs move, but not your pelvis. And then that can feel very restricted. So if we bring our fingers up onto our shoulders, then we might feel there's a little bit more room for movement. As indeed, actually, the shoulders probably do move a little bit more. And we could also bring our fingertips onto the crown of our head and see how that feels to turn to the right and the left from the waist up. Good. And then you're going to pause in the center. You're going to release your arms and we're going to fold forwards over the front leg.
So you can start by bending your front knee and come to rest your forearms on that front thigh. And then if you like, you can go lower. You can release your arms to the floor, release your head to the floor. Keep your back heel rooted into the ground or you're going to feel quite wobbly. Good. And feel how it feels to fold forwards in this position with your front knee bent. That's it. And you can rest the weight of your rib cage onto your front leg. So you're not trying to take your weight into your hands at this point. You want to try and clearly feel your weight in your heels. Then come up as you exhale. So let a breath come in. Exhale, sink down into your footprints. Come back up into standing. Then we do this funny little swivel where we pivot on the ball of the back foot, the heel of the front foot back to face the centre, and then keep turning your feet all the way round to face the other end of your mat. And then do a little bit of rocking forwards and back. So again, turning to face you, you should have some sideways distance between your feet, and you should have some forwards and back distance. And we're trying to feel steady, so it's not a huge step, it's not a teeny weeny step. Just trying to make it easy for ourselves. And then from this rocking, we can settle down. So at this point, we've got our knees straight but not locked. And we're trying to leave the pelvis settled and swing our arms and just see, can we move from the waist up without the pelvis and the legs and the feet coming along. And it is a sort of unnatural feeling. This feeling of isolating part of our body in movement. So then we can do just the same as we did on the other side. We can sort of focus in a bit and bring the hands onto the ribs and turn to the right and to the left. So we're trying to feel that movement of the rib cage turning. We can have the fingertips on the shoulders, which maybe feels a bit easier. Perhaps a bit more movement of the shoulders to the right and to the left. And we can have the fingertips on the crown of the head. And again, that might feel a little bit freer. And then you're going to pause in the centre. You're going to bend your front knee. You're going to fold forwards over that front leg. You can keep resting your arms on your front leg, or you can carry on folding forwards. And we're thinking then about the rib cage, the chest maybe coming to rest on the front leg. Doesn't matter whether your fingertips reach the floor or not, very nice, that's lovely. Let your head go, have a couple of breaths there, it's fantastic. Yes, really nice on that side, Helen, lovely. Lovely, good, good, yes. And then whenever you want to, you come up. That's why, Marie, you come up by sinking into your heels. So these ones are they're quite perhaps more challenging for the hamstring of the front leg. Okay, again, pivot on your feet back to face forwards and then turn all the way back to the first side. And come back to just checking that your feet, you've got your sideways distance, you've got your forwards and back distance, you're feeling steady. Because now we're going to come into a standing balance. So we're going to be thinking about taking all of our weight onto our front foot in a moment. So I'd like you to settle down with your front knee bent and your back leg long and straight. And you're going to bring your hands into prayer pose at your breastbone. And so take a moment to find your breath here. So maybe you feel the movement of your breastbone with your breathing. I've got my thumbs touching my breastbone because that just always helps me feel steady. And then what we're going to do from here is shift our weight into our bent front leg and bend the back knee. So we come into this sort of exaggerated running position, a bit like road runner. And then from here, you can start to straighten both knees, reaching the raised heel back behind you, letting your shoulders tip forwards. So we're trying to sort of come into a sort of long line from the crown of our head to our heel. And we're also seeing if we can keep that connection with our breathing. Feeling the breath flow in, feeling the breath flow out. Good, very nice. And then do obviously come
Back up. Well done, very nice. We'll give your arms and legs a little shake out. We'll try the same thing on the other side. So we roll, we pivot on our feet back to the center and then all the way round to face the other direction. And again, you don't have to keep your feet stuck where they ended up. Just settle your feet down in a way that feels stable and comfortable. Do a little bit of rocking forwards and back, and then settle yourself down so your front knee's bent, your back leg is straight. You're bringing your hands into prayer pose at your breastbones. We've just got this sort of, the hands are sort of quite tucked in here, and then we don't have to worry about the arms and the hands. Find your breath, feel the in and the out breath. And then as you move on to bring your weight into your front foot, the back foot comes up, you've got both knees bent in this funny sort of running position. And then you start to straighten but not lock your knees. You just keep trying to maintain your connection with your breath, trying to feel the flow of your breath within you. We might manage that for a breath, half a breath, and that's fine. Good, very nice. Come down. We have a little shake out. So that's our first cycle of moon salute. We're nearly complete, but what we finish with before we come into cycle 2 is a forward bend where we take our feet wider apart. So taking your feet wide on facing the long edge of your mat is what I'm trying to say. So you're steady here, and then you can just fold forwards here, sinking into your heels, doing whatever you like with your arms. Seeing how that feels. Good. So you want to make sure your weight is staying in your heels. If your fingertips do touch the floor, they're not taking weight. That's it. So folding into your forward bend. Good. That's nice. And when you're in that forward bend, of course, if you like to bend one knee, bend the other knee, shift your weight a little bit from side to side, that's absolutely fine. Or you might just sort of like to be quiet there. Nice to see Atticus joining in, Rosie. so sweet. Lovely. Okay, another breath or two in that forward bend. If you're happy there, you can stay there. If you're ready to come up, sinking into your heels, rolling up into standing. And then bringing your feet back. So coming back to having your feet a little distance apart. And our hands in prayer pose in front of us. So from here, are we all there? Good. We're standing with our feet a little distance apart, our hands in prayer pose. We're going to let a breath come in, and then as you exhale, take your arms down and then up. And then swing your arms in front of you, crossing your arms in front of you and sort of changing the cross of your arms. That's it. And then what you're going to do from here is you're going to give yourself a hug with your right arm on top. And I thought I'd just tell you so that you don't have to remember. So you're going to give yourself a hug with your right arm on top. And then you're coming from here on into, Helen, you're not whiz at this now, but into your, what do we call this, eagle arms, this one here. So from giving yourself a hug, right arm on top, into your eagle arms. Have a couple of breaths upright. And then you're going to take your feet a bit wider apart. So not as wide as they were a moment ago, but again, it could be like the narrow edge of your mat width, a little distance apart. And then folding forwards into your forward bend. Sinking into your heels with your arms and eagle arms. Obviously, once you're down in the forward bend, if you want to release your arms, you can do straight away, or you can keep them there for a few breaths. So with the arms sort of crisscrossed like this, it can help to lengthen out the spine. But it's also nice once you've had a few breaths with the arms wrapped around each other to let your arms go to the floor and just be heavy and floppy. Good. Very nice. And then as you exhale, sink down into your heels. Make sure you've released your arms. Roll back up into standing. Step your feet back so they're a little bit closer together. Bring your hands back into prayer pose. Just find your breath again. Let a breath come in as you exhale. Take your arms down and then up. Swinging the arms, crossing them in front of you. Good. So on this side, we're all going to be hugging ourselves with the left arm on top. So nice and easy. Give yourself a hug with your left arm on top. Drop your shoulders down away from your ears. Come on into your eagle arms on this side. And then again, we'll take it into the forward bend, stepping the feet a bit wider apart, not massively wide, just a bit wider, sinking into the heels, bending the knees as much as you like, folding forwards, letting the arms and the head go. Good. So you can obviously, yes, you can keep your arms in eagle arms, or whenever you want to, you can release them. Folding into your forward bend when you're ready. And also letting your arms hang when you're ready. Good. Good. And also, yes, coming back up when you're ready. So we're going to be from, when you come back up, bring your feet back to being a bit closer together. And then we're going to be doing the lovely movement where we're swiveling on our feet to face the short end of our mat. And we do a little bit of shifting our weight forwards and back. So hopefully the foot position is just feeling a bit more familiar now as we've come in and out of it a couple of times. And what I'd like you to do, same as last time, is to settle yourself down so your front knee is bent and your back leg is straight. But this time you're going to lean forwards. Rest your hands or your forearm on your bent front leg. And at this point, you want to try and imagine that your spine is sort of lengthening and flattening rather than rounding and curving. Because we're going to rotate from here, and it's just easier if our spine is long and straight. So you're going to keep your front leg, hand or forearm resting on your front thigh. You're going to bring the back leg hand onto the back of your pelvis. So we're turning our shoulders and our ribs towards the back leg side. And we then might want to release the arm that's resting on the thigh. You might want to release that hand to the floor or your ankle. So it might be that arm hangs. It might be bring your fingertips to your ankle, to the floor, whatever works for you. And it might be that you also want to take your top arm up towards the ceiling. But that top arm needs to be sort of relaxed, palm facing forwards. Yes, Siobhan, I can't see from this angle, but sometimes your arm goes too far back. So you're trying to feel that arm is immediately above the bottom arm. Good. Looks very nice, everyone. Beautiful. And from there, yes, lovely. When you've had enough, you're going to untwist and flop forwards over your front leg into a forward bend. Good, and let your head go. Lovely. Very nice. And then sink into your heels. Roll back up into standing. And turn. So you're going to be turning back to face the centre. And then turning round to face the other end of the mat. And again, if you need to do a little bit of just shifting your weight forwards and back. So remember, we've got this sort of walking length pace, something that feels steady and comfortable, not too little, not too big. And then our starting point is our back leg straight, our front knee bent. We could drop the shoulders at this point. And then folding forwards. So we're folding over that front leg thigh, but we're trying to keep our spine long and flat. We're maybe imagining our spine is no lower down than being sort of level with the ground, the horizon perhaps. So the front leg, hand or forearm stays on the thigh, the other hand onto the back of the pelvis, turning towards the back leg with the ribs, the shoulders, the head. Release the bottom arm to the ground, or it could be on your ankle or hanging, top arm could come up. But again, I'll come and have a little, very nice, yes, a little look at you. Good. Make sure the back leg is straight, your back heel's really sinking into the ground. Lovely. Absolutely fantastic. Yes, the top arm doesn't have to come up. If that aggravates the shoulder, just keep it down. Good. Very nice. And then untwisting, flopping forwards over your front leg. Just here, before you come up, I would like you to check, do your fingers reach the floor? Because we're going to be coming into a balance next. And if they don't, you might want a book or two under your fingers. So sink into your heels, come back up into standing. So we're going to be, yes, so from facing that end of the mat, come back to the center. We're going to be going back into the same position, but taking both lots of fingers onto the floor. So if they didn't reach the floor and you wanted a book under each hand or a yoga block, should you have it, you can do. So turn around, so you're facing end number 1 of your mat. And we're going to be going into that same position. So with the front knee bent and the back leg long, we're going to be moving toward, let's say towards our half moon pose. But for some of us, it might just be, how does it feel to just be able to take the back foot off the ground? So you're going to be folding forwards now, all the way down, so that you can bring both lots of fingertips to the floor, because that's going to help you bring your weight into your front foot. So your front knee needs to bend to help you bring your back leg off the ground. Yeah, so that might be the first challenge. How can you get your back leg to come up off the ground? And if you can get your back leg up, good. Make sure your weight stays well in your front heel. You can let your front leg start to straighten but not lock. And then you're rolling your pelvis on top of your standing leg, so the pelvis starts to face forwards. And you'll bring your arm off the floor, the same as the leg that's raised. So your half moon pose, so you're sort of opening your body forwards. And yes, seeing how it feels. And I know this is quite challenging for some of us, so it might, yes, don't, yeah, that's it. It might just be about, that's it, bringing one leg off the floor, yes, heating, Mel, so. Good, that's it, Helen. So that's it, good. So that's that starting point. We've got one leg off the ground. Then what we're trying to do is make sure we haven't got too much weight in our hands. We want to then sort of shift our weight back into our standing heel. Good, that's it, exactly. Yeah, well done. Well done, very nice. Okay. Yes, just let yourself flop forwards in your forward bend for a moment, because we've got to do this on the other side. And then you can sink into your heels. Just, I know, Marie, it's not your favourite, so bear with us. So second side, sink into your heels, come back up, swivel on your feet so you face the front of your mat, and then you come to face the other end of your mat. So we have this intention that we're going to bring our weight onto our front leg. We start with that knee bent, the front knee bent, fold forwards. Maybe we have some books under our hands. We want to try and avoid getting too much weight into the hands, which is why I always think it's good to be on the fingers rather than the flats of your palms. And then can we bend the front knee more so our back leg can come off the ground? What would it then be like if we start to roll our pelvis, so the pelvis is facing forwards and our top arm, the arm of the leg that's raised, is also coming up. But you know, yes. Well done. Yes, and if anyone has a good thinking, Elaine, if anyone has a wall that they can, yes, they can move, so they're leaning their back against the wall. That is an excellent idea. So really well done. That's it, Elaine. So that arm could, yes, maybe come off the floor. You don't have to. Well done, everyone. Good. That's nice. Lovely. Yes, or exactly a wall that your heel can, is still heel against the wall? I can't quite tell, Sharon. Maybe. It looked like maybe it was, which is always helpful. And then you're going to be coming into one last wide forward bend. And then that's the end of our
moon salute for today. So one last wide forward bend. However you like with your arms. I quite like having my arms behind my back in prayer pose, but only do that if you like that one, or you could be holding your elbows behind your back. So that's a possibility, but not if it's not great for your shoulders. Yeah, so another one would be to hold your elbows with your arms hanging down to the ground. That could be nice. Good. Very nice. Nice to see all the... Yes, I like that, Rosie, holding around the back of your head, lengthening out the back of your neck. That's very nice. Anchoring, yes, beautiful. It's nice to see all the all the variety. Let your heads really go. That's it, Elaine, beautiful. Sinking into your heels. And if you like your wide forward bend, stay there. If you've had enough, sink into your heels and come up. Have a little, yes, don't leap out of your wide forward bend. Have a little shake out. And you're going to be relieved to hear that we're making our way now down into child pose. And we're going to use our buzzing breath. So we're going to be at the back, have a buzzing breath in standing, use the buzzing breath to take us forward bend, have one in dog pose and so on. So come and settle at the back of your mat with your feet a little distance apart. So in Tadasana, mountain pose. And you can close your eyes, let your arms hang by your side, and let a breath come in. And we'll be buzzing on our exhalation. So let the breath come in. Have another inhalation, and then with your next buzzing breath, you're going to move into your forward bend as you make the buzzing sound. And then walk your hands forwards into dog pose, nice big handprints on the floor. And once we end up in dog pose, we'll have a buzzing breath in dog pose and really let the head hang. So let a breath come in dog. And from dog, folding down into child pose, or kneeling, or lying on your belly if you prefer. So I'll give you those three options. And we'll have a buzzing breath, and then you could choose to change your position for one last buzzing breath. So child pose, kneeling, or lying on your belly. Letting a breath come in. So for the last buzzing breath, you could choose to stay where you are, or you could try one of those other three positions. So I'm going to try lying on my belly, and I'm just thinking probably to buzz on our belly, we need to be resting on the side of our head. Might work better. So let a breath come in, one last buzzing breath. And then whatever position you're in, if you're comfortable, have maybe 3 more quiet cycles of breath. If you need to change back to a more comfortable position, that's also fine. So feel one more cycle of breath move through you, wherever you are, feeling the breath coming in and filling you, feeling the breath emptying out. And then come to sit for a moment with your legs out in front of you and leaning back onto your hands, and give your legs a little roll. So we are making our way into lying down, but I thought we would, en route, we would just do a little bit of our rolling back, our boat pose, give our abdominals that little bit of a workout. So when you've let your legs lengthen out in front of you, you're going to come towards the front of your mat and bend your knees. So remember, it's this movement where we're trying to let our back round out. So I'm starting with my hands on my feet. I'm looking down towards the floor in my belly, sliding my hands to my knees. And then back again, looking down. So the same thing a few times, just maybe sliding the hands from the feet to the knees, looking down at the belly and the floor, letting the back round out. And then we can go a little bit further. So as we slide back, when our hands come to our knees, we can let our feet pick up off the floor. And then to come forwards again, we look forwards. To come upright again, it's helpful to look forwards. So rolling down, looking at the belly, letting the feet come up, looking forwards to come back up again. And just do this a few times, keeping your knees bent to make it sort of as smooth, and I say easy, it's not particularly easy. Perhaps a couple more times like that. And then obviously we don't want to put off the inevitable. Maybe next time you roll back down, we're trying to balance on the middle of our back, lengthen out our legs for a breath or two. So we'll try that one 3 times. So remember, what we're trying to do is balance on the middle of the back. If we go too low down, then it becomes harder. Well, it's not easy, whatever. So rolling back, trying to balance on the middle of the back, lengthen out the legs. Breathing's not very easy. Oh, one last time, and then you lie down after this one. So these are some of the things I found sort of the hardest to come back to, actually, because they are quite hard work. So rolling down, balancing on the middle of the back, long legs, and then collapsing down onto your back. And just really enjoying that full inhalation that you experience as you're lying on the ground. Full inhalation, yes. And just settle down. And of course, at this point, if you want to put on socks, as yes, Sally, as you're doing, you can definitely put on socks. And we'll do just a few little movements on our backs. So when you have got your socks on and you're settled on your back, it's really nice, that feeling of the breath in the belly. It's also nice to do a little bit of rolling of your head from side to side. Very nice, lovely. So rolling the head from side to side, finding a comfortable place to settle the head down. So it's sort of a bit of easing out the neck from where, the front of the muscles in the front of the neck engage in that lovely boat pose we were doing. Good. Let's have a look. Yeah. Might be quite nice to bend your knees, stand your feet on the floor. It's just a little bit of tilting of your knees to the right and to the left. So this movement that we often used to start with We were doing longer classes. So this easy movement, the knees tilt to the right and to the left. We feel the weight shift side to side across the back of the pelvis as the knees tilt from side to side. Might also be nice to do a little bit of tilting your pelvis up and down. So you could settle with your knees in the center and see how it feels to tip your pelvis towards your face and away from your face. So this is with your pelvis on the ground. And as you tilt your pelvis towards your face, your lower back flattens out, that curve in your lower back flattens out. As you tip your pelvis or rock your pelvis away from your face, your lower back arches a bit off the floor. And this is just, can be nice for releasing the lower back. And often after that Navasana boat pose we were doing, Mayurveda Navasana, I quite like to do a very easy bridge pose or two. So if from here, when you're tilting your tailbone off the floor, if you want to carry on letting the whole of your pelvis come off the ground and move into a couple of very easy bridge poses, you could do that. You're not trying to get anywhere in particular, but it might feel, I often find at this point it feels quite nice in my spine. And also this feeling of opening through the front of the body, after the front of the body being very active when we were trying to balance. That's nice. When you've done a couple of bridge poses, you might then like to fold your knees into your chest. Hold around your knees. You can have a few quiet breaths. You can rock from side to side. And yes, if you've folded your knees to your chest, you could take your legs up to the ceiling, give them a bit of a shake out. You could add your arms in. And then we're just going, very nice. And then we'll just settle down for a little bit of quiet breathing, lying down. If there's any sort of last movement you feel your body needs, yes, to come back to. If some of you are moving into sort of little twisty movements, taking your legs down to either side, that's nice. Make sure you're warm enough. Got a blanket or jumper. And just settle down however you're most comfortable, with your legs long or your knees bent. And let your eyelids close over your eyes. Let your eyes soften back. And let the front of your face be soft and relaxed. You could check in with your lips and your jaw and your tongue. And let those parts of yourself soften and relax. So maybe there's a tiny bit of space between the lips. And there's space around your tongue. You can also take your awareness to that point between your eyebrows. Imagine that place that can get sort of furrowed. Then just imagine that place softening, widening. Both the sort of outer layers of skin, but also the tissues beneath the skin. And bring your attention down a little bit lower to front of your chest and your belly. And just imagine the whole of the front of yourself softening so it can respond to your breathing. And it may be that your hands are on the front of your body, they don't have to be. And so you can feel that softness in the front of yourself so that your body can respond to the filling of the inhalation and the emptying of the exhalation. And if we imagine too that the ground beneath us is soft so that our body can sink into it and down and rest deeply. As we feel this constant rhythm, the flow of the inhalation, the flow of the exhalation moving within us. We're going to lie quietly, just maybe for 30 seconds, 1 more minute, and then I'll ring the bowl. So thank you very much, everyone. Oh, to see where everyone gone. Thank you.
Thank you, Kara. Fantastic. It was really lovely.